most people don't have a plan for how to handle their finances, not because they don't want to, but because they don't know how to. So I'm Francisco Pintoa. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the financial planning pyramid, what exactly it is and how it works, right? So in simple words, the financial planning pyramid is a tool that is used by financial planners, financial advisors, and the wealthy to build their finances from the ground up and to get to financial freedom, right? So I'm going to go on the board and show you exactly what it looks like, right? So at the very bottom level, we have our foundation. This is our foundation level, right? In our foundation level, we have three things. We have adequate income, and that's just having a source of income, right? Having a job, essentially, to start off, it can be a 9 to 5, right? So just having a source of income. Now we have adequate insurance, right? So I usually teach these to Marines or service members, right? But adequate income and adequate insurance can often come together, right? You get a career or you start a decent job, you have adequate income, and then it comes with adequate insurance, right? If that's not the case, then you have to pay for income. You have to get income, you get a 9 to 5, and then you start paying for your health insurance, car insurance, homeowners insurance. That's why I go over that before I go into the third one, which is controlled spending, right? Controlled spending is 100% on you. The reason I say it's 100% on you is because nobody can control your spending except for yourself, all right? So in this foundation level, I like to think of it, if we're on a ship, right, and the ship crashes, this is you knowing how to swim. This is the foundational level, right? You have to jump aboard. This is you knowing how to swim. So once you know how to swim, we move on into the next level, right? This is keeping you afloat. We move into these savings. Now, in the savings level, we also have three things, right? These three things are going to be your reserves, right? What your reserves is anything that you're going to be using within that month, right? So with your controlled spending, and I'll make a video on how to control spending and what exactly it is that I use to track it. But your reserves is going to be that number that you have in controlled spending that you use on a monthly basis. That's what you're going to have in your reserves, right? So reserves, monthly expenses, right? So your reserves is going to be your monthly expenses, right? Your next one's going to be your emergency account. So your emergency fund, right? Your emergency fund. Your emergency fund is going to be the fund that you use in case of a major emergency, right? So, for example, your car breaks down and it has to go to the shop for a long time, so now you need a rental or you get into a car accident, anything like that, and you need to have funds immediately available. That's your emergency fund, right? This is not when your car's tire blow out. It can be, but your reserves should be able to take care of that to a certain extent. And then you have your go-getter. Your go-getter account is going to be the account that you use for later fun, right? So the things that you want, that laptop you want, that trip you want to take to Puerto Rico, anything that you want goes into your go-getter account. So real quick, emergency, let's go fund. It's gonna be 3 to 6 months. The expenses, and then your go-getter is gonna be save for later fun, right? We still need to have funds available to have a life, right? We gotta be normal. So after you have your savings, right, in this level, if we're back to the illustration, we're on a ship and we have to jump. Foundation is knowing how to swim. Your savings is getting a floaty, right? You get a raft, or you have something that keeps you afloat for longer, right? Keeps you alive longer. That's your savings, right? Now, the third level, now that you have the baseline and then you have your savings, this is gonna be the level that's gonna further get you to your goals, right? Your financial goals. So this is gonna be your investment level. This is your investment level. Now, in the investment level, it's broken down into 3 sections, right? The way it's broken down is gonna be from low risk, steady, stable income, right? So it's gonna be making you a little bit, but it's gonna be safer. And then it's gonna move up to the highest risk, highest reward, all right? So the bottom level of the investment level is gonna be you're gonna have your stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, right? So stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, right? For stocks, that's gonna be individual companies, right, that you invest into, and they go up in value, so you make money when they go up in value. But not only do you make money when they go up in value, but some companies pay off a dividend, right? And I'll go into detail in a separate video on stocks. Bonds and mutual funds, it's gonna be similar to that. It's gonna be very, very like basic, right? You get a little bit of money back, right? Mutual funds can also include index funds, right? And then the second level, I like to put in there real estate and hard assets, right? So real estate and hard assets, those are tangible things, right? Things that people are like collectibles, anything like that, right? So real estate and hard assets, right? So real estate and hard assets, the reason being is anything that's hard assets that doesn't guarantee any returns, right? It's not expected value, right? You don't know the expected value. And then the real estate, that requires a little bit more capital in order to get into it and get a good return. Same thing with hard assets. It requires a little bit more capital, right? And then at the top of the risk, right, the highest riskiest, you have your options, you have your businesses, business, and then you also have commodities. So in the highest risk, you have your options, you have your businesses, and then you have commodities, right? So for options, that can be trading options on stocks, index, or anything of that nature. You can also trade options on houses and property. Then for business, that can be buying a business, an existing business, or investing into your friend's business, or even a startup business, right? That's why it's a little bit more risky. And then commodities is going to be investing into everyday commodities that can be metals, wheat, anything of that nature. That's why it's a little bit more risky. Same, kind of similar to hard assets, right? So this is the financial planning pyramid, right? We start at the bottom. We start with a foundation. We go into the savings level, right? This is knowing how to swim. This is getting a floaty. And then the investment level from here to here, it goes from low risk to high risk, right? With low risk, it's stable, steady. Over multiple years, you'll get a decent return. High risk is high reward, right? But just with high reward can also be very, very high volatility. So this is the financial planning pyramid. I'll make another video and go into details on how to use this, but this is a financial planning pyramid. Now that you know the financial planning pyramid, comment in the comments. Go ahead and put what you want to learn about next, and if this was helpful to learn.